Hey, welcome. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara this morning. I'm sure we'll get some other welcome messages as the morning goes on. Hey, the one article we didn't get to yesterday that was really kind of interesting was that one about workers dragging up these cannons from the Savannah River while they were dredging to obviously make it wider and support bigger ships in the channel. And so this is kind of American archaeology, right? Interesting that they would do that, right?
Yeah, it's yes, and they believe it's from a ship, I think called the Savannah, a British warship, and it looks like the British had scuttled their warships, cannons and all, because the French fleet was coming up the river. It was going to be a direct sort of a threat to them. So you must have been in a hurry because they didn't save the cannons. Cannons were a very valuable thing back in those days. Artillery was everything, and became even more important under Napoleon. So the British had a lot of money they put to the bottom of the river there.
Yeah.
And this is something that is always overlooked in American history. American history is written wrong. It is written as the plucky, independent-minded former British colonists looking for freedom, and with militias and ragtag army under Washington, they'd be defeated the British. It would be impossible for them to defeat the British. They couldn't beat the British. They needed another superpower in the world, the French. The French had a chip on their shoulder because they had lost the 7 Years' War to Britain and now wanted to get back at them.
And they'd lost a lot of other things to Britain as well. Even in North America, like the French and Indian War, they'd lost.
That's right. That's what I said. The 7 Year War is the same as the French and Indian War, right? It depends on what view of it. North America was the French and Indian War. In other parts of the world, it was the 7 Year War. It was thought to be the first world war, actually, because there were so many belligerents involved in that war. The war was going from everywhere. Even the American Revolution had elements of it in Gibraltar. There was more British troops in Gibraltar fighting the Spanish at the time that the Battle of Yorktown was happening in the United States, the deciding battle of that war. Now, the main thing is the French were able to defeat. Normally, the French were defeated by the British, but the French managed to defeat the British fleet devastatingly so on the Battle of Grenada during the war, the Independence War, and then that gave them a huge advantage in the naval department. The only navy that could challenge the British Navy at the time was the French Navy, and so it was the French Navy. At the Battle of Yorktown, it was an army of French soldiers and an army of American soldiers, equal in size, fighting the outnumbered British forces in Yorktown. Why it is always washed away in American history? You don't often know American Revolutionary War adaptation or movie ever puts in there the sacrifices the French had made, aside from maybe a little bit on Lafayette. But
there's the occasional column that they meet, which is a quarter the size of the American troops.
Yeah, or the Americans could not have done this without them, because there was lots of blood and treasure, lots of French blood and treasure in the United States. That's one of the reasons why the Statue of Liberty is there, because 100 years after the Revolutionary War, the French, remembering their participation in that, sent the Statue of Liberty to the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the point being is that it was America was entirely in debt, in the debt of the French, in order to make that independence happen. Anyway, and but it's beautiful to see these cannons brought up, because I think history like that, and these have been lovingly restored at Texas A&M University, and they are going to be going on display in 17 of them will be going on display in Savannah History Museum. So there's two of them that were brought up that clearly have got problems, or they haven't said anything about that, but clearly they've got problems insofar as restoration what isn't possible.
Yeah, there's also those cannons were loaded too. A lot of those cannons were still loaded, so they had loaded them up and been prepared. So why they scuttled them was to stop the just put blockages in the river, but they must have had to do it fast, and they didn't save their cannon, which is which is a complete no-no. At the Battle of Lundy's Lane here, after the fight that nobody could determine a winner, where the American forces and the British forces fought for a whole day, the bloodiest day in 1812 history, a war. Battle, the Americans had to took off, retreated, because they didn't want to go through another battle like that. So they knew they were going to win, so they had to take off, but they forgot their cannons. They forgot their cannons, so the British forces were able to capture all but a couple of cannons. And that made a big difference for them later on. They had these cannons, more cannons than their American counterpart, that rushed to Fort Erie and stayed there, or Fort Erie and stayed there.
Well, the whole point about back in those days, you had to actually advance and retreat with cannons in mind. And these, when you think about it, these guns were moved on a platform, and a massive team of horses. And so that was an important thing.
Yeah, just after the gun was put in place, it still took 4 or 5 guys to shoot and aim these things.
Yes,
and they had to be they're skilled guys. That's one of the reasons why the British were the best Navy. It wasn't just the fact they had a lot of ships; it's because they had a routine with their sailors. They could load, shoot, and direct the fire of their cannons faster than almost anyone else.
Well, one of the advantages they had over the Spanish was the fact that the British fleet was small compared to the Spanish. The British cannons were always aimed upwards. The Spanish couldn't aim their cannons downwards.
What time period are you talking about? Are you talking way back in the Armada time?
No, I'm talking about when Nelson's Battle of Trafalgar.
Yeah. Basically speaking, though, the French and the Spanish ship, they were the best. Unfortunately for the Spanish and the French, they walked into an extraordinarily well drilled British Navy under an extraordinary leader.
Yeah.
And that whole Battle of Trafalgar ended. And it's a very sad thing. When I read a book about it, and one of the biggest problems with that, it was a if you want to think of who defeated Napoleon, it was 3 people basically. It was Nelson, who defeated the French and made them no longer a threat anywhere to invade England. It was Wellington, of course, who fought them to a standstill in Spain and Portugal, and then, of course, the Battle of Waterloo, and then the Rothschilds, who supplied the money for it. Yeah. The Rothschilds were, that's not a joke, really.
No, it isn't a joke, but it is so crucial, because, in fact, the Rothschilds have honourable place in British society purely and simply because of the money supply in that war. Yeah.
Without any of those 3 people I mentioned, you would not, Britain could have succumbed, or at least a large part of Europe could have still been under French control.
Yeah.
However, but we do know that the French Navy that the British were so afraid of in the Savannah and scuttled their ships, it cost the French an incredible amount of money. When they went to ask for the Americans to pay back the debt, they could not, which put the French in a very bad position because they had fought the Revolutionary War with and supplied the Americans with huge amounts of munitions, blood, and treasure, but they also now had enormous debts piled up from the war before that as well. And that's one of the reasons why the British had to stop the war and the Revolutionary War, because it was costing too much, put them in back behind, but it caused so much trouble in France that the French Revolution then came afterwards. And I don't know, it's very interesting. So you're just this one boat, it's just one ship in the Savannah or in the river, right? And getting those cannons out, I think that's awesome. But it tells so much more of a story.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. And that's a reason to go, a reason to go to the Savannah Museum, right? When they open them. This is opened on, this is installed in the Savannah Museum on the 2nd of July this year. And phenomenal. All right. So these are British guns and captured essentially, well, captured now, abandoned British guns, right?
Yes, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Now if they had more time, they could have salvaged them, that kind of thing. But what the Brits would do, or whether it's the Americans or the Brits or anybody else who could not take their cannons with them, they would spike their own cannons so the opposition couldn't use them.
Yeah.
So they spike them and make them impossible to fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's I think that's a fascinating story. If I'm ever in Savannah, I'd be going looking at them, I think. Morning, Kenny, and morning, Rick. Right. Still need a Ferris wheel? No, we don't. No, we do not need a Ferris wheel. And any candidate that pledges support for a Ferris wheel ain't getting my vote.
I don't know. I'm kind of coming around to the idea of the Ferris wheel because they've got one in Taiwan. I heard they've got a huge Ferris wheel that goes up, but it's got beds in it so that you can snog your girlfriend when you get to the very top.
Oh no!
So it's kind of it's kind of not like the Mile High Club. It's like a 1/10 of a Mile High Club kind of thing. So I'm coming around to this. I'm coming around to it.
Just so you can snog your girlfriend. Yeah.
I'm in for this the snogger wheel for sure.
Still need better bicycle infrastructure and GO transit services. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, the buses.
Actually,
we do need to improve the buses.
Going on, but we could have snogging stations along the way. Bicycle snogging stations where you can just pull in.
Okay.
I couldn't get on the Ferris wheel this time, so I did along the bicycle path. Anyway, yes, it is the city of love. It is like a honeymoon city. We should adapt. We should promote that part of it. We got
have your honeymoon weekend in the Ferris wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, we got lots of places where you can snog. If you like, for instance, especially young married couples, they can't keep their hands off each other sometimes, and the urge comes over them really quick. They should have snogging stations all over town, right? We could just duck in there and.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, there are plenty of trails with remote areas for that. Thanks, Dave. Right. Okay. So Seth Blatter is pissed with the United States. And Seth Blatter, he's no longer an official with FIFA, but he used to be an official with FIFA, and he basically says this isn't a matter of border control; it's whether the sport's biggest stage can uphold the authority of the officials it appoints. And he's saying no one is more official than a referee. And if a country refuses to allow a referee in, then the World Cup should not be held in such a country.
Yes,
right?
I guess.
Well, with the US for not letting our referee, Somalia, isn't it?
It was a Somali referee, and I don't think the Americans knew anything what they were talking about. Basically, they didn't know what to do with this guy. He comes from Somalia.
Yeah,
they know what Boko Haram is, and I mentioned the fact that they are quite clueless. Actually, anytime you've ever talked to an American, I mean, they're getting better, but sometimes they're so vague and so ill-informed that, okay, he's a brown guy from Somalia, and that's where Boko Haram happens. And can I find any connection between him and Boko Haram? Well, he officiated at a soccer match where members of Boko Haram were watching the game. So, okay, because they don't know what to do. They're afraid. They're afraid to investigate.
And furthermore, the side that won was the ones who Boko Haram supporters were supporting.
Yeah, and I told you my relatives with the last name Raila, blonde, blue-haired, blue-eyed, blonde, fair, right? You got Allah in your name, so you must be a potential terrorist here. Yeah, imbeciles. Well,
basically,
imbeciles with a capital I. That's the ignorance level I'm talking about. In North America, we are so damn ignorant. We should be the smartest, most informed people around, but we are dumb.
Yeah. And what basically Seth Blatter is saying is that FIFA names 52 referees, 88 assistant referees, 30 VAR officials for this tournament. And they selected them on a quality-first approach. And basically, these are the best officials in the world, right? So that's why they've selected them. They're not people who are going to want to stay in America, right? They're people who are going to return home. This is the height of their career. And Blatter's comments might sound harsh, but the principle behind it is hard to argue with. If a World Cup referee can't enter the host nation, it's difficult to claim the tournament was operating independently.
You can't have a good game without a good ref. Well, no, you got to have somebody to blame for your loss. Let's face it.
Absolutely. What do you think Czechia blamed last night and South Africa blamed last night? They were blaming the referee every inch of the way, weren't they?
It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
So that was actually harsh in yesterday's World Cup. That in fact 3 players got given a red card on the opening game of the World Cup. Really unusual.
Yeah. So anyway,
Mexico
this
won last night.
This could be the worst. This could be the worst of all. Like, hopefully in Canada and Mexico make up for it, but it's going to be tough in the States. They're restricting players, they're restricting referees, they're restricting fans. Yeah, they're frightening fans. The cost of it is exorbitant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You gotta for one thing, you have to be a person of means to get here to watch. So if you're coming in to watch, and you say you come from Ghana or someplace like that, and you come, or anywhere else in Africa or Asia, you come and you've got your visa to come into the country to watch the game. You get your 2-week or 3-week visas or whatever, and you've got your hotel reservations and all that. When you look at a person like that, that's the least likely person to stay here illegally, because they have money and means. The ones you want to keep your eyes open for are those people who don't have so much money and means to get into the country. And here's Mikey saying, who can afford it? What a ripoff. Wait all my life for this and blocked from by cost. There you go. Yes. Yeah. So what's the average guy going to do?
Again, here's the thing, Dave, that in fact, actually, and Mike, Liverpool, you've not seen how some of these fans operate. Liverpool fans will mortgage everything to go to, their games, and they're not rich, right? But Liverpool's one of the best teams in Europe, and they will mortgage if they go into the European Cup, finals. You'll find Liverpool fans will sell everything that they've got, including themselves, in order to get to that European Cup final. They will raise the money.
Oh wow! Trump could learn a few things about giving his cult a boost. Hey, Liverpool's got a better cult than I do.
Liverpool fans are the most trouble-free fans in the world, but they are fanatics about following Liverpool. Right? Yeah. They will follow Liverpool to the ends of the earth.
FLC, or what is it?
Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool Football Club. Yeah.
Yeah. LFC.
Yeah.
LFC. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've now got the first graduates from the University of Niagara Falls. So there's been 900 students from the first class of graduates that have graduated now. So congratulations to them. So they've come from classes in Master of Arts in Digital Media, Global Communications, Master of Data Analytics, and Master of Management programs. There you go.
I'd just like to remind everybody that on July 25th, which is not long from now, another couple of weeks, will be the 212th anniversary of the Battle of Lundy's Lane.
Okay.
So we're getting close to July now. July it was. Sorry, July. Oh, not June, July. Sorry. July. Oh, I'll talk to you later. I'll bring that up again later.
Okay. Well, we got another session about what's going on the weekend. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So the first graduates of the University of Niagara Falls, I was very skeptical about this whole thing. Particularly when it was introduced at a time when we had a lot of foreign students coming into the country without much overseeing of them, basically, without much scrutiny over their qualifications to come. So we saw a lot of students coming in for everything under the sun. I don't know how many Indian people I met, young Indian people I met who were taking hospitality, So they came in, they were going to go for anything. If they could get into anything, they get into hospitality. And how many hospitality graduates will Niagara Falls be able to absorb? How many will the whole of Ontario be able to absorb?
Yeah, not many.
Right? The one guy I talked to who's more sensible, he came in and he tried to get his welding tickets. He's looking for a place to get his welding tickets because he figured to become a welder, better chance of staying.
Yeah.
So he took welding. So imagine coming all the way from India to take welding.
Yeah.
Right. So so the situation was out of control. So of course the University of Niagara Falls had that shadow over top of it. But it seems not to have our suspicions don't seem to have much merit. It seems that these students are being coached and taught with industry in mind. It seems to be a very, very practical type of university, targeting and partnering with industry and with the economy in a whole to fill in gaps that are necessary There are things here I don't know what the people do. Basically, when I read their qualifications, but all I know is they need them. You know.
Yeah. But again, things like Master of Data Analytics, we need data analysts. Master of Arts in Digital Media is probably one that blows your mind. But in fact, actually, there's a lot when you think about website design, etc., it's becoming about the design nowadays, not about the it's not necessarily so much about the content, but more about the design.
Sure. We find that related thing with the news agencies we have now. It's more about the rage and the emotion than it is about the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the same thing with the digital media global thing. We need the splash. We need the splash and kamash, basically the glitter, and we need you to pay attention, and we'll get you that way.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Well, and if you got two companies that are selling the same product, and you're looking at company A, and you find the website pleasing to you, and you look at company B, and you find the website ugly, well, I know who you're going to. You're going to go and buy it from company A.
Yeah, it's well, it's salesmanship, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's also global communication. So you got to get your ideas out there. You got something to sell. You got something to buy. You got to get your ideas out there. And there are ways in which to do that. If you do not have sophisticated means of getting your ideas out there, then they will go on the second shelf, third shelf, and then become scared. Yeah. So that's all part of it. And you have to connect worldwide now. So there are methods by which to do that. If I come up with a brand new widget tomorrow, the best widget of all time, and my rivals have all kinds of advertiser or global communication staff, my widget may not get any attention at all.
Yep. Exactly. Right. Okay. And apparently there was messages at this graduation ceremony from Mark Carney, who sent a message through the college, and Ontario's Minister of Colleges and Universities, Nolan Quinn.
Well, this is an accredited university, so that was the first thing I looked at. No matter how hard I looked for, blemishes in this university, and there were a few kind of questionable things, it was accredited. It is recognized. Its programs are recognized. So, will it help Niagara Falls? Yeah, it will. If a university like that keeps growing, and it is there partly to develop skills for the niche market, places where those skills don't exist in our Canadian economy or any economy, because there's no real way of knowing whether they're going to stay or not. But here's an example. Roberto Reina, a recent graduate with a Master's of Data Analytics degree with distinction, came to Niagara Falls from Mexico to start the second part of his life after defeating cancer. Well done. I met a couple of people from Pakistan. Oh no, Bangladesh. They're from Bangladesh, and one of a couple, and they came to they already had a business and stuff like that in Pakistan, but they wanted to come and try something different that the University of Niagara Falls offered.
Yeah,
I think now I was immediately suspicious that they just wanted to get a footprint in Canada, because if you got a lot of money in a place like Bangladesh, you might want to put it in a place like Canada. You never know. That was happening.
Yeah.
So the photo data is stored. Photo data is stored in database. Anyway, I don't know. It seems to be going well.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say about it, really. it has had its first successful year. It's brought it's brought money into the area. I would imagine these people have to come here and live. They have to spend their money on groceries. They have to spend their money on rent. They go to the movies here, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the problem we had earlier on was students going to the soup kitchen. I don't think it's these students, but it might have been other students.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I hope it wasn't these students, because any student going to the soup kitchen is worrying.
Well, that was the problem with the way in which
the
liberal government let it get out of control, where you get they were getting a lot of money from foreign students, but the foreign students weren't going away. The foreign students didn't have enough money, and they got into coconut colleges or some bird courses, or even bird courses that weren't bird courses, but we're not going to really benefit the student in the long run. I talked to a young lady. Her family spent $60-something thousand getting her here to take a hospitality. And then the government says, okay, now you got to go home. Well, she was shocked. She thought that was her ticket to stay.
Hospitality is one of the worst degrees out there, anyway.
Well, it's good for whoever works in hospitality, but my point is, how many hospitality degrees can be absorbed? It was like when I was in. It still is the case. When I was taking college courses in Peterborough back in the mid '80s, there mid to late '80s. The big thing was law and enforcement. Crime and all that kind of crime and enforcement, all that. Tens of thousands of people wanted to get there to be crime investigators and all that, and they might have got a job as a mall cop. There is a need for them, but only the very, very best and the most very, very high end people that put real effort into it win. On that one.
All right, let's move on. Right. Okay. All right, let's move on. Things to do this weekend. So there's wine tours, live music, comedy, and markets. So we've got Marcelo Hernandez. Read it right, say it right. From Saturday Night Live. Is here on tonight. 8 p.m. OOG stage at the Fallsview Casino. Live bands this weekend include Superstar Crush, Three Sore Heads, and They Call It Chaos at Camp Cataract. Cherry Bomb are live at the Fallsview Casino Splash Bar. 55 Main debuts at Kristen's Bar and Grill. Bad Juvie is live at the Aria venue. We've got Niagara Wine Tour, Craft Cider Tour, All Canadian Food Tour, Summer Fun Tour, Wine, Cheese, and Chocolate Tours.
Well,
happening across the region.
There's also celebrate the summer solstice at Litha Fair 2026. It takes at St. Catharines Square, 5 to 10 p.m. on Saturday. The reason why I want to go there, well, there's handmade stuff and all that, but the real reason why I want to go there is because it has tarot card readers, and so if I go there on Saturday, I'll know what's going to happen without reading the newspapers for the following.
Okay, yes, that's. And what was the event that you were talking about in July?
July 25th, because we're talking about the wars, and then of course the War of 1812 came up, and I remembered because the British had to leave their cannons in the river there, completely loaded. They were ready for battle, but they had to scuttle them because That's the only way to stop the French fleet from coming up the river. And I remembered how the Americans, on their hasty retreat from the Battle of Lundy's Lane, forgot their cannons.
Yeah. So what
and how that was a big advantage for the Brits.
What date is that?
That was July 25th, July 25th.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right. Okay. All right. So that was the things to do this weekend. Trump threatens basically not to renew the trade deal with Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, he's huffing, plustering. It's pretty hard to understand his negotiating style because he just says no, 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 yes, 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 no, 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 yes, maybe, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no. So that's the way he does it. As you can see by the Iran war negotiations, he's had, I think, 37 or something like that. I can't remember. At least a couple dozen times where he said the war is over, it's almost over, and Straits of Hormuz is going to open up any day now. He's saying that again. The markets are believing him this time. Actually, the gas prices have actually come down. They're only 25 cents more than they were before per liter before the war began. But we don't know if
they will never come back down. You know, Dave, they will never come back down to what they were before the war.
No, because of course the oil and gas companies are going to take advantage of this. This was a big windfall for American gas and oil producers because producing fracked oil, the thing that made America independent in oil was the fracking of the fracking oil, right? The oil they get from fracking, but that's very expensive. So you need to get 65 bucks a barrel minimum, I think, almost 70 bucks a barrel in order to make it viable. So you can break even in the 60s per barrel. But as soon as the barrel of oil goes up in price, as it has, they make huge profits now. Canada's making huge profits, sending their oil down to the States right now, even though they sell it at a discount, but they're selling it at a discount with the new oil prices. So there's a little bit of windfall there for the Albertans. They've 3.9 million gallons or barrels every day to the U.S. So there are a lot of people making a lot of money out of this. There's a lot of people that would like to keep this going as long as they could to make more money. But the problem is people around the world are starving, and it's a foolish war. It was a foolish war to begin with. You're not going to get anything better than the JOCA, whatever that one that Obama was able to negotiate. I mean, it's going to be a dumbed down version of what Obama did. And nobody knows what's going to happen. The guy doesn't know. Going down 15 cents this weekend. Yeah, but it looks like the markets are believing that the war probably is over now.
Yeah, but again, there's a couple of things in here. I saw a story just recently that basically saying the U.S. has have killed 3 Indian sailors in petty spats that have happened in the Straits of Hormuz recently.
Yeah, they've disabled. Of course, this is going back and forth. The Iranians attack some ships that try to get through. The U.S. is attacking ships that they think have Iranian oil on them. I don't know why the U.S. is doing that. They have the capacity just to land personnel on the ship and take it over. In this particular case, they've been sending missiles into the engine rooms, right? But in this particular case, where they killed 3 Indians, they didn't give enough warning, apparently, or that, and so much so that the Indian government is very alarmed by this. And what they did is they took one of their jets, sent it F-18, I believe, sent it over to this ship and drove a missile into the engine department of the ship. Did a lot more damage than they thought they would do. Evidently, killed 3 sailors, and the ship began to sink. The the men were rescued by the Omani Coast Guard. So they were rescued there. So this is I don't think the U.S. are conducting this very well at all. They could have captured that ship with a handful of Rangers, right? Just dropped them on that, right? They would have had a whole ship full of oil that they could have captured as spoils of war.
Yeah.
And the nitwits threw a missile through the engine room and killed the people. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? What are you doing? You could have, like, a handful of guys. Look, the Houthis did it, and a ship in the Red Sea. The Houthis got some beat up old helicopter and got their commandos on a ship in the Red Sea. They've done it 1 or 2 times anyway, captured the ship and brought it back to port. The United States has the most sophisticated military of all time. Why don't they drop their own commandos on that ship and take it? And then they've got all that oil. They can pay for part of the military expenses of the United States. Capture it as spoils of war.
Yeah, although the irony here, of course, is that it's low risk to drop on a ship like that. In reality, what Trump doesn't want is body bags.
Well, he's given the Indians body bags.
Yeah.
And believe me, like, these ships, they're sailors. They don't have armed contingents on them, right? They are not armed. The people on that ship are not armed, right? So I don't know why they have to do that. It's like blowing the crap out of drug boats in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
Those guys, they have all this sophisticated apparatus, and when they blow up a ship and they haven't killed everybody, they send another missile at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that ship.
But again, this whole question about not signing the Kuzma agreement, which is what we started this particular article on.
Okay.
Right. Because Trump is basically saying he's not going to re-sign to sign the new trade deal with Canada and Mexico.
That's baloney.
Yeah. In fact, actually, there's another one. The Pennsylvania governor has basically said it's reckless and disrespectful what Trump is doing to Canada, and as he signs a new trade pact with Ontario.
Yeah, they're well, Trump is using the bully tactics, the fear factor, all of that. I don't think the agreement that he himself came up with, the last Kuzma agreement, was touted by him as the greatest trade deal of all time. And look what he's doing. Back in his first term, he celebrated the Gordie Howe Bridge, told everybody what a great idea it was, wished us all the luck in the world, and then suddenly he decides that the person that owns the Ambassador Bridge gave him money for his campaign, so now he's going to stop the Gordie Howe Bridge from opening up under stupid reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, Rick's going to Belfast this week. I wouldn't really recommend that, Rick. I wouldn't. I wouldn't go to Belfast this reason. Not at all. I would not at all. As you know, the Belfast has had kind of race type riots going on there. There was a stabbing, I think, that would cause it all, and it was a immigrant or a refugee or something like that, and it's just spilled over into a lot of violence against refugees and all that other stuff. So it's really got out of hand. So I would not recommend that, Rick. I would not. You might want to go to the southern part of Ireland, but maybe not the northern part.
Yeah. He just wants to cross the new bridge, he says. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so also the other thing is that John Iverson, the U.S. ambassador, has basically told Canadians that they should ignore whatever comes out of the White House.
Yeah, I think probably Canada's strategy is like buy for time. We've said we've come up. We've made it very clear that we want the agreement. We want a fair agreement. The United States is doing the divide and conquer thing, where it's trying to negotiate with the Mexicans and the Canadians. And the United States realizes that the most important trading partner to each one of them is the United States. And even though it's very important for the United States to have good trading agreement with Mexico and Canada, it only makes up, well, Canada only makes up about 17% of its exports and imports. Mexico a certain percentage too. So it has a lot more leverage against both of us. However, the Kuzma agreement will carry on for a year or so, even if there's no deal signed. Trump is doing his usual thump his chest and yell and scream like he did to the whole world. And he put tariffs on the whole world, even uninhabited islands.
Yeah.
Uninhabited islands way out in the middle of nowhere, where you got maybe some penguins and seals. That's about it. And when asked about that, they said, "Oh, anybody could go then and establish a little settlement there, and then pretend they're like sell Chinese stuff to us through there." I don't know. It's total BS. Anyway, so the guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's just huff and bluster and beating his chest. What Canada finds often when they go to these meetings, especially early on, that the U.S. is not prepared. That was the case last time, but when the free trade agreement was initially happened, the U.S. was well prepared, but it has never been very well prepared in initial negotiations.
Yeah, basically. So coming back to that story about the striking of Indian vessels, basically India has been going in and out of the Straits of Hormuz, staying to one side or the other of the Straits of Hormuz. So this was, basically that has annoyed Donald Trump to no end anyway. That's for sure.
Well, he's saying that they've got this secret deal. Or secret program that's not so secret, because the New York Times wrote about it 2 or 3 weeks ago. The British press has talked about it. So the secret deal is to sneak as many cargo ships out of there as possible. There is a dribble of cargo ships that come out, nowhere near the amount that Donald Trump has said. But the fact of the matter is, you've got sailors bottled up in that Persian Gulf that can't get out. Some of them are getting sick. They're malnutrition. They haven't got enough food, and yet they're full of cargo waiting to break out of there. So this thing has got to stop. The American farmer is really worried about what kind of fertilizer will come this way. It's going to be overpriced anyway. Aluminum prices are very high because 9% of the aluminum comes out of that area. So the fertilizer, the aluminum, and of course the gas and oil that come out of there are so important for the rest of the world's economy.
And of course we've been talking about how in Africa there's massive, great problems with supply. Nigeria is a net oil producer, is actually talking about now building pipelines, but of course building a pipeline is going to take 3 years.
Yes, and this is and we're talking about more pipelines too, aren't we?
Yeah.
Why is that? The whole focus has shifted away from the environmental, sort of the unrealistic environmental demands on our oil and gas industry to let's get our product to market, because we are a safe and reliable energy providing partner. The Far East, South Korea is very interested in it. Japan's very interested in it. They can see the disruption that could continue to happen in the Middle East going forward. So they need reliable sources of energy. Here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We just got to get our oil.
We got to get the pipelines to get the product to the coast. Yeah. All right. So even though, I don't know whether we've really got a continuing ceasefire anymore, because what we have is kind of an American standoff because they don't want to put troops on the ground in Iran, because I believe the generals have been telling Trump that is not the way to go. We're going to lose hundreds of thousands.
Well, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He told us all that the Kurds are going to come on and invade from the north. The Kurds said, we remember you, Trump. We remember how you backstabbed us back in your first term, right? So we're not going anywhere. We remember that very clearly. So we're not going anywhere. And so what Trump did is he supplied them with a lot of arms, and they didn't move, which made him angry.
Yeah.
But the thing here is, how much blood are you want to spill on Iran? And now they're changing their whole idea. They're saying that the 1,000 pounds of whatever it is of uranium, refined uranium, is so far under the mountain and all amount of nuclear dust, basically, that wouldn't be worth digging it up. Right up until a couple of weeks ago, that was urgent. You got to get it out and give it to me. So all the conditions but what Iran is saying here, the reason why the oil and gas prices are coming down is because Iran has confirmed that there is a deal on the way. And if you notice that the oil and prices of the last few weeks have really been watching what the Iranians said, not what the Americans have said.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the Iranians say, okay, it looks like we may have a deal, then the oil and gas prices go down, but not when Trump does.
Not when Trump says, yeah.
So if the Iranians are in agreement with Trump, then they come down. But what the Iranians say is, we got this deal, and this keeps happening. Every time we have a deal, then the Americans suddenly get greedy and start adding a lot more conditions. So they got this 14-point deal that they are set on, and they said, okay, we'll go. And then the Americans say, okay, well, we want a few more things. So they change the conditions. It's just like how the U.S. does its tariff deals, right? So it comes up with a deal, and everybody says, okay, we'll go with that deal.
We're ready
and then they add some more conditions.
Yeah, we got our pens out ready to sign.
Okay.
And
that happened to the Japanese.
Yeah.
It happened to the Japanese sent their delegations to sign the deal that they had negotiated. And when they got there, they said, oh, well, no, we want more. We want this. We want that. The Japanese had to go home.
Yeah. Well, because those negotiators have negotiated in good faith, have got a certain amount of signature power from their government, and that's all they can sign, right? They're there to sign that agreement, and if that agreement's no longer on the table, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So I think probably the real problem here is that the first set of tariffs that the U.S. administration put out there were illegal. They're presidential pronunciations. The Supreme Court, which is stacked with conservatives, voted against it, turned it down. And so even a MAGA Supreme Court couldn't go along with Trump. So he needs other tariffs, because the tax breaks he gave to the wealthy, or anybody else to that matter, he has to make that up with other taxes, and those other taxes are tariffs.
Yeah.
The problem with tariffs is it affects the poor people the most.
Yeah.
And the biggest objection to the tariffs, the initial tariffs that the U.S. administration came up with when Trump first got in, hurt small businesses. So they're the ones that took them to court. Small businesses were a big part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they won, and they can get their money back now. But it put a lot of small businesses out of commission right away, because they relied on foreign merchandise.
Yeah.
Walmart, Costco, tell me what doesn't rely on foreign merchandise.
Yeah.
The places we go to shop. You try to get a shirt that's not made somewhere else.
again, Costco and Walmart can soak up the differences to a certain degree. Your local corner store cannot. You know, the price of bananas, if the price of bananas goes up by 5 cents, they have to put the price up by 5 cents.
Yeah, but the big players were fed up and they joined too.
Yeah.
Because Costco jumped in with the small businesses. Walmart was complaining as well. Even the big car companies had to say, look, we don't like that, the Kuzma thing you're doing. In any case, we'll find out that Canada will have to make deals somewhere along the line, but we might not have to make a deal with the Trump administration. Bad deal is not, no deal is better than a bad deal, and I believe it. Canada is the only other country in the world other than China that's fought back. You know, I keep hearing things from usually the right-wing media. Oh, we must bow. We must kowtow. They're too big for us. We must kowtow. We should not stand up to them. We should not put our elbows up. We must kowtow. We must bow and lick the boots of the big, no, I'm not for that. Because every time you bow down, they demand more from you. You should just stand up, take a bloody nose here and there, but sooner or later, the big dummy can't swing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Anything
Anyways,
else
it's the
said
weekend.
there? Probably not. Yeah, we're kind of on the weekend is on us. So those things we were talking about, those events that we were talking about, stick them in your diary and let's get going. All right.
Yes. So anyway, as I say, I will always bring up Gaza. It is a nightmare. It is a genocide. It is perpetuated by what is supposed to be a democratic country. It is not a democratic country. It is an ethno-religious state. That's a nice democracy that's fueled by the Western money. And it's very nice for the average citizen of Jewish ethnic background in Israel. And they have a very nice country, just like the whites had a very nice democracy in South Africa. That can't happen now. We cannot keep playing this game that Israel is a victim when they are the victimizers. And Paper Mill John says, were you related to the owner of Ontario Paper Mill, John E. Wheeler? I hope I was.
Yeah.
I'm going to make inquiries into his will at this very day. No, I don't know. Wheeler is a very common name. Any kind of research I've done on my own particular family or anything conclusions, I believe that my particular family were among those that the Brits gathered up years ago and put on ships to dump them off in North America because they were poor. My relatives were extremely poor in the United States. I mean, my great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War, but there was generations. They came at about 1700, it looks like to me, and they were dirt poor the whole time through, right? And dirt poor. But
so they missed the land what do you call them? They didn't get awarded land.
No, they didn't. They were squatters. They lived on government land, and
yeah,
and they lived in oh gosh, even in up until the fifth. Go anyway. So that's a long story. So look, I'm going to bring up Gaza one more time. Don't forget Gaza. Do not forget what's happening in Lebanon. I mean, the Ukraine thing is out of control. The mighty peacemaker was going to make peace in one day. Even before I got into office, Ukraine, I got this solved. Couldn't touch it because he's too thick in the head. He's just a big fibber. So yeah, he can't do anything like that. He had no cards over Zelensky after all. So he doesn't solve Gaza at all. That Board of Peace thing was just a big scam for money. $1 billion. You had to put up $1 billion to
Yeah,
be
that's why people like Mark Carney and Tony Blair saw through it. You know, I'm not putting up $1 billion. Don't have $1 billion.
Sure. And has anything changed in Gaza? They squeezed
Nothing.
everybody into smaller, smaller areas. They're still bombing the crap out of everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Restricting food and restricting medicine and not allowing one journalist in there. There hasn't been one Western journalist in there at all. Any journalist in there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hiding?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, have a great weekend. I think the weather's going to be good. Get out there. And I should mention that our old commentator, Deb Jackson, I think she still has her art on display at the Niagara Art Gallery. And I just took a look at that. I haven't seen it yet. So I think it's going up to the 20th of June. So keep that in mind if you want to see a local artist stuff. To make it into the gallery is quite prestigious. Anyway, without further ado, I'll bid you adieu.